In recent videos, I shared that I completed my master's degree at the end of 2020 and that I applied to a PhD program. I shared these things not to sound fancy, but because these endeavors have become part of my life story, which I'm writing about in a book. Interestingly, one of my master's supervisors shared with me that writing a life story is a form of research called narrative inquiry. So I've been actively reading about how we shape our identities and tell our stories through narratives. So I've been reading a couple of books lately. One is called Narrative Inquiry, and the other one is called The Stories We Live By. And this research is actually helping me organize my thoughts in writing my own book. So while I have a couple of degrees completed now, getting an education didn't come easy for me. In fact, I was kicked out of high school just 2 weeks before my 16th birthday for truancy. And although truancy implies that I didn't have a good reason, I actually did have a good reason, which I'll be writing about in my book. So it wasn't until I was almost 18 years old that I decided to go back to high school, and I finished a couple months before my 20th birthday. It wasn't until I was 34 years old that I decided to start pursuing a university degree, and that took me 6 years to complete. So I graduated from university at 40 years old with a Bachelor of Science in Psychology. And at that time, I can honestly say I thought I was done with school. But working in the field of post-secondary education, I quickly learned that I wouldn't be able to get very far with only a bachelor's degree. Mainly the reason for that is because I was pursuing a teaching position, and in order to teach full-time at a community college level, at least in Ontario, Canada, you need to have completed a master's degree. So I signed up for one, and that endeavor took me an additional 4 years. So it took me longer to complete both degrees for two reasons. One, I did both of the degrees part-time, and two, being a mature student often presents unique challenges for people. So for example, if you're trying to balance schoolwork with raising children or managing job responsibilities, these can sometimes delay the process. Ultimately, there's no rush though. So why did the education narrative of my life start off so tenuous? Well, first of all, neither of my parents completed high school, which wasn't uncommon back in the 60s with the baby boomer generation. Lots of people married their high school sweethearts and started raising families right out of high school. So they didn't really push education, maybe because they didn't have that experience to draw on themselves. However, my mom is very intelligent and well-read, and I have no doubt that she would have earned multiple degrees if her life had taken a different course. Another reason it took me so long to pursue a post-secondary education was that getting a formal education was strongly discouraged in the religious organization I was raised in. Some of you may have watched the video I posted about my upbringing and about being shunned by my father for over 20 years. Sharing that narrative was difficult to do, but it was also healing too. And it led me to start researching the history and practices of my upbringing, which, to be honest, I tried to forget. Most recently, I read, let me grab it here. I read the book The Reluctant Apostate by Lloyd Evans, an extremely well-researched and credible book. And now I'm reading, let me see if I can get it up here, Crisis of Conscience by Raymond Franz, which is a first-hand account of the inner workings of the organization, told from the perspective of a previous member of the governing body, which is kind of like their board of directors. Both authors used a narrative inquiry approach to share their life stories and experiences, so this is helping me in how to organize my own book. I'd highly recommend both of them. So I came across a video documentary on Lloyd Evans' YouTube channel, which slapped me in the face with a reminder as to why my education narrative is sketchy, to say the least. This video clip was taken from the organization's Evangelical Broadcasting Program, and the speaker is one of the governing body of the organization. I'm going to show you the clip, and I'll let you be the judge of what you hear.
The artwork itself may have been unrecognizable. Satan is no longer depicted with horns and a pointy tail in modern witness literature, but the use of scare tactics to dissuade young ones from attending college and university, lest they begin developing critical thinking skills, is still a disturbing feature of Watchtower material that radiates from a group of men who now use this very building as their base of operations.
It is one thing to work on a job with others and quite another matter to immerse oneself in an institution of learning. Higher learning can easily influence thinking and attitudes. I have long said, the better the university, the greater the danger. The most intelligent and eloquent professors will be trying to reshape the thinking of your child, and their influence can be tremendous.
So let me repeat what he said. The better the university, the greater the danger. The most intelligent and eloquent professors will be trying to reshape the thinking of your child, and their influence can be tremendous. This message appears to suggest that intelligent and eloquent professors are somehow a dangerous influence. When I watched this clip, I had to pause the video. I remember staring off into space, pondering it, and I had to second guess myself. Did I actually hear him correctly? It was a head scratcher. Anyway, so as not to digress down a rabbit hole of how preposterous and quite frankly embarrassing his words are, I'm just going to leave it right there for you to digest in your own way. But for me, what he said was illuminating for my own narrative. Furthering my education was never encouraged by my parents because they were being influenced and indoctrinated by an organization that promoted the dangers of university. Essentially, the dangers of their children becoming critical thinkers who may start questioning the beliefs and teachings of the organization. It may also be enlightening to some of you who are high school educators, who have students who are members of that organization. Perhaps you see immense potential in some of them and have encouraged them to apply to university or some college programs. And perhaps they have politely declined or have given you some excuse as to why they won't apply. No doubt there are some students who have internalized the belief that university is dangerous, but I guarantee you there are some students who desperately do want to apply, but who are forbidden to. And they're too embarrassed to tell you the reason why they won't apply. And unfortunately, acting against the organization's code of conduct may come with severe consequences for those students, such as the potential of being marked by the organization as someone other members should not socialize or associate with. Even worse, potentially being shunned. As someone who has already been shunned, there was nothing stopping me from pursuing university studies. And it took several years after I left the organization before I decided to return to school. But it was honestly one of the best decisions I ever made. And in fact, in my 2016 video resume, I share why the degree meant so much to me. And I'm going to share a brief little clip with you that shares that.
I can honestly say that receiving my degree was one of my proudest moments. It's not the degree itself, but what it represented to me. The importance of perseverance, commitment, positive attitude, and the resulting self-confidence that it gave me.
So I learned the importance of perseverance, commitment, a positive attitude, and self-confidence. And I'd say those benefits were reinforced through completing my master's degree too. So it could be said that ultimately what I learned were protective life skills. I fail to see the danger in that. Ultimately, further education doesn't guarantee you a job, and by that I mean there isn't an employer waiting at the other end of the stage at your convocation, waiting to take you off to your brand new shiny position in the job. Wouldn't that be nice? So your motivation for advancing your education can't be only extrinsic. You need to do it for the intangibles that help you grow as a person. You need to do it for who you can help with what you're learning. And who you help includes yourself. There are so many rich experiences gained through attending university or a college. Your mind is open to new ideas and experiences, and you're often intellectually stimulated and challenged. There's also the community that you become a part of. Not only do you make lasting friendships with your peers, sometimes they also become your business associates. You also create relationships with your professors who become a really valuable resource in searching for positions in your careers. Like they can even recommend you to industry leaders or be a job reference for you. Sometimes they even become your friends. There are several other benefits to formal education, like the higher earning potential, but the specific benefits will be unique to each individual. Sometimes even just experiencing the challenge of finishing a degree is satisfaction enough. And you may even decide that you want nothing to do with the industry that you just invested 4 years of your life preparing yourself for. And that's okay. It's all part of the learning experience. And often employers just want to see that you finished a degree. Sometimes any degree will do. I sound like I'm plugging post-secondary education right now, and I guess I am a little bit. But what I wanted to say that is if you're watching this video and wishing that you could go back to school, whether it's to finish high school, get a college diploma, or a university degree, it's never too late. Honestly, I was 40 when I got my bachelor's degree, and I was 50 when I finished my master's degree. So even if you're currently part of an organization or a family that's holding you back or doesn't support your goals, you may just need to wait patiently until the right time for you. And patiently waiting doesn't imply inaction. While you're waiting, you can be researching schools and programs and perhaps funding options such as bursaries, scholarships, and student loans to help you with your tuition and living expenses if you need them. If you're in Ontario, I can recommend people that can help you with that process, and I'll put their contact information in the description below. You also want to get your hands on any of your existing transcripts and perhaps any English language certificate that you have, because these are documents that you will need with your application. Bottom line, just know it's never too late to go back to school. When you're ready, the school you choose will be ready to receive your application. Be prepared to develop resilience by working really hard, perhaps suffering a little bit, perhaps maybe even being broke and tired. But you'll learn so much about yourself, and you'll gain the confidence and skills to take you to the next phase of your life's narrative. Thank you for watching. Be positive.